Hey guys, welcome to another tutorial. Today I want to talk about finding the limits of things, and it sounds very philosophic, but what I mean is that when we are designing sounds, we're gonna do things that actually are not really. It's gonna sound like, is it meant to sound like that? Probably not. It's gonna sound like it's destroyed or something. But that's usually where the fun stuff is hiding out. And to show you a few practical examples, first what I can do is open up Massive, and if we're in Massive, we can make sounds like that. And normally, or in most cases, what you would do is choose a filter and just play around with that sound until you have something nice. But what you can do, for example, with the comb filter, is set the feedback all the way up. That's already sort of a scary thing to do. And then drag this all to filter 1, and then drag the pitch all the way down. And now we get into that area where things sound a little bit like they're falling apart. And this is usually where all the good stuff is. So let's try to modulate this with a stepper, for example. Just that little area where everything sounds broken. And give it a few steps. Just like that. I like that sound, for example, that's very high. Especially if we play low. So that's one example of doing things that fall apart a little bit. Another thing we could do is we could search for a kick drum. Let's type kick drum here. There we go. Okay, and I would like to have an acoustic kick drum, so there are more things in there already. Well, this is pretty acoustics. And we drag that in, and we check how it sounds. Okay. It's a pretty boring kick drum, but okay. It does have a lot of stuff in there, a lot of harmonics. It has a little bit of hi-hat in there. So what we can do with that is make it longer. For example, make it a lot longer, like 17 bars. And then check it again. So now suddenly that kick drum has a whole different vibe to it. It's more of an effect or even a drop sound. And to do this in Logic, you just press Command F, and then it gets into stretch mode. You can recognize that by this purple thingy right here. And then you can choose different stretch algorithms. So now we can try a tempo phone, which is a granular algorithm. And it will sound different, and we can change the grain size. So we're doing all sorts of things that we're not meant to do. From there on, we can do even more things that we're not meant to do. So now we've bounced this sound, and I want to show you one last example, and that's with guitar rig. And this one is pretty extreme. So we're gonna choose a distortion module first, and I choose the Mulholland Drive, and then I'm gonna loop a short region. And let's try to distort this a little bit. First we set the feedback, and then we just use a little bit of dry wet. And then we're gonna try the drive. And let's try the feedback like there, which is crazy, so we're gonna lower this. Now we're getting into some very interesting algorithms areas. Okay, so this is something. Now we could try to take it one step further to make a melody of this with the sequencer, because we heard that when we move the tone, it sounds like the pitch is a little bit changing, and in fact the pitch is a little bit changing. So let's set something up to do that for us. We can drag this handle to the tone, and now this sequencer is modulating the tone. We can set it to 116. And to make this a little bit more controllable, sorry, we can use a gator after that. Oh. And we could even pitch it up one octave with just a normal pitch pedal, and we set the pitch shift to an octave, 12 semitones. So I hope that learned you a little bit about experimenting with stuff, doing crazy stuff. Just make sure you always use a limiter. But then that's the beauty about sound designing. You can really do whatever you want. So try some of these things, come up with your own things, and I'll see you next time for another video. Thanks.